Woo, all right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me, and I appreciate everybody showing up exactly at this moment, right on time and ready to go. And yeah, welcome to class 4. We're going to call this one our midterm. So that's, we're going to go back, we're going to reflect on what we've covered so far, and we're going to put that into use on our next painting, or if you would prefer, kind of catching up, whatever it is you need time for. What I do think, when it comes to learning and digesting so much information that I've thrown at you guys, is that 1 week to kind of reflect without a whole lot of new information and digest it, write it down, or put it into use, possibly share it with somebody, meaning teach it, but sharing sounds better, really is helpful. And then we will move forward and get a little bit more technical as we go the next couple weeks. And then we will use our final 2 to 3 weeks to do a large painting of your choice. And we're going to do all of the steps. So we'll do some thumbnail sketches. I'll show you editing. If you need to, want to do different types of editing, you can do it by just cutting your printer paper up, or putting a frame over it, or whatever techniques. If you are, have Photoshop or editing software on your camera, any of that's fine. Or you can just do it by simply redrawing it out. Then we're going to do our little thumbnail sketches with the acrylic paint or oil paint, whatever you choose, or watercolor, or whatever you choose. Probably do a couple different designs of it to see, does it look better as a square format, a long vertical, a horizontal, really trying out different ways to present the image. And then we will get going. So it'll be a way to kind of show all the different steps that we can use. You don't have to use them, of course, but I promise you your painting will be more successful. There's nothing worse than getting halfway through your painting only to realize the first step was wrong, your design, or the second step, developing your value structure, is wrong, but you're already into the beautiful colors and brushwork. So setting ourselves up for success, right? And a lot of times that feels like more work, unnecessary work, but I promise you that it actually speeds us up in the long run, okay? And it leads to hopefully slightly less heartache, where, you get 75% of the way into the painting and you realize, oh my gosh, I put the barn dead center of my painting. What was I thinking? And my horizon line is, exactly in the middle of the canvas, and it wasn't intentional. Those kind of things. We'll also talk about using different color references versus just our photo. I grabbed a couple this morning for that. So I saw a lot of you guys turning in your new paintings and things you're working on. We are going to not do much of a critique today, just due to time, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it towards the end. So if we do have time, that way we can get going. But we have quite a lot of painting to do today, and a lot of discussion up at the easel. You can see I've started a number of new tonalist pieces, one really large one. It's always weird to try to figure out how to point inversely to the image on the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up that video really quickly and just show you that very fast. All right, are you seeing the Facebook page?
We see an image, yes.
I don't want that. I don't even know what's going on again. All right, pulling up my I should just post it on there. So here is.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, and this is just, again, the very beginning stages of it. And this is just a minute long here, a minute and a half. No sound. I tried to put music to it, but it didn't work. So this is just the kind of the where it ended up here. Here it is in my studio. And there we go. So experimenting, that's a little bit of paint thin artist I wiped on. So it's a little bit, quick because it's a big painting. I wanted to move fast. So I'm experimenting with different ways of doing the subtractive versus just covering the whole entire scene with, one color. And just kind of starting almost my big sketch right away. And again, this is all just me experimenting, trying different ways. Every time I do this, I kind of think, oh, that would have been better if I had done that. Oh, that would have been better if I had done that. Or maybe it would have been better. I have no idea. So you can see it gets all mushy in there. Maybe that wasn't my best idea either, squishing it down like that. All right, here I go. Start carving out the shapes. This is some of these pictures that I posted are, I think, the reference for this. So if anybody does like this picture, you can kind of come through and, like always, you could edit it. I mean, you can pause it, you can rewind it, just to kind of see, because it is a time lapse. So again, it's hours worth of painting in a minute and a half.
Are you painting on a board or a canvas here?
A large board. And
Michael,
yeah.
Did you start with the Indian yellow and then the earth red on that?
Yeah, except for this time it's Indian yellow again, and I mixed the colors. And I am not exactly positive what colors it was. I may have had like earth red, Indian yellow. I know I used some Payne's gray in the next kind of colors that I'm adding. And I almost think there may have been like another kind of more opaque brown in there, mixed in really thinly as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michael, did you
Those
buy that board already gessoed, or did you put some kind of coating on it?
It is gessoed and it's very smooth. I often will go over and re-gesso it with in a little bit rougher manner, once or twice or three times, just because this gesso is very not absorbent and it's very slippery. But I'm kind of learning to use it due to my own laziness of not adding more gesso. But on the second panel I'll pull up today, I did add a little tiny bit of one more coat of gesso. But yeah, if it's white, it's gesso generally.
And you haven't touched it. You're seeing it as it is.
Yeah, I wiped it. You unwrap it. It's got the plastic cover on it. I unwrap it and then I'll generally wipe that down with water and a towel just to get off any dust or anything else. Let that dry completely. You don't want water underneath your oil painting. And there, yeah, you can see it. This is still quite transparent paint. What I noticed in the reference was that the tops of the trees had a real nice, warm, transparent feel to them. So I was kind of thinking in terms of that, at least along the top edge of the trees. Okay. We'll see if I catch that. And I know that it's going to take opaque paint over the top of this to make any of this show. I just kind of darkened the sky, knowing I'd get rid of most of that, but I wanted it to kind of reflect in the bottom of the water as well. Just kind of building up some shapes. Right there, that dash of lighter color is that the light is actually coming from the left and hitting these things on the right, these landscape elements. And there's some cast shadows also raking across the bottom half of the landscape. So those shadows, dark shapes that you saw that I tacked in really quickly in the back bottom of the trees are kind of showing me like this tree. Are you guys able to see my cursor?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the right side of the tree, kind of, and the left side of the tree is going to be hitting by more light. So the light's coming across, it's hitting this grass, and then it's going to roll up into this tree. At least that's my goal. And that same thing is kind of happening throughout. So I'm just beginning. I'm not thinking, obviously, I'm not thinking grass. I'm not thinking trees. I'm just thinking lights, darks. I'm beginning to think a little bit about the warms and the cools a touch, but just barely. It's just big shapes, lights and darks, okay? That's all I'm really thinking about. I'm keeping my brain in a very abstract way of thinking. Like truly this could almost just be an abstract landscape if I wanted to sell it for a lot more money.
Marco, I have a question. I had older artists, other classes that had you paint in, 3 to 4 monochromatic in the gray values first. But you are choosing color values.
That's a great point, Jean. Thank you and that was Jean, right?
Yep.
Thank you. Beginning to recognize some of your guys' voices here. I appreciate that question. That is very poignant and right on point here. I guess that's the same word. And it's true. I could definitely do this in black and white and gray. And oftentimes I will. But I do like warm underpaintings. It kind of probably comes from my love of Monet and the Impressionists. And I like that kind of, I like the areas of warm, transparent color that I leave untouched. And because I'll have the whole surface, I think it kind of binds the painting. And that is just a matter of personal preference and style. But yeah, I could instantly, like if I could just show you this video in black and white, it would be the same concept. Absolutely. So yeah,
So
great.
Personal choice.
Personal choice. Yeah. So when I first was challenged by my buddy Don Bishop just to do value studies, I think I told you guys, well, maybe not even in this class, that I started off with just black and white paint and just did I was doing 3 a day out in plein air, just little 8x10s over and over and over again. And then I may have just not had my black paint. I don't know. And somebody told me, you know what, if you use French ultramarine and earth red, you can make a beautiful black. And very quickly in that, because I was beginning to use the subtractive style when I was doing these little quick design studies, value and design studies. So I wasn't doing color, it was just value and design. And then using that earth red and ultramarine blue, I kind of realized that I could warm up some areas and cool them down by simply adding more of whichever color. If I wanted cooler, darker shadows, more ultramarine paint. If I wanted warmer, light areas, just more of the transparent earth red. So that makes sense? So then it was those 2 colors in white. And then I, Indian yellow has always been one of my favorite colors. I began just adding that to the mix and came away with, I think, 90 or so of these little studies, right? And they, some of them were black and white, some of them were very muted and earthy and grayed down anyways. And then when I started using the Indian yellow, and I actually could make my black or very, very dark color with Indian yellow, earth red, and French ultramarine all mixed together. And then I found when I started wiping away that obviously the Indian yellow was sneaking through and staining the canvas or the panel a touch more than the other colors. So when I would go in to subtract, that color would kind of stay there. And then the earth red stained more than the ultramarine. So then the edges would kind of have that warm glow. And then the ultramarine would stick in the, thicker areas that I left more untouched. So it kind of came about accidentally. And then I remember doing a quick draw event and I was doing a large painting. It was a 1-hour quick draw. I was instantly going, why did you pick such a large surface? It was of haystack rock and big clouds. And the same thing happened. where it was intending just to kind of do my under design and value structure. And when I went in and started wiping away, all of a sudden the crowd that was watching started oohing and awing, and I was getting these nice accidental effects. And in fact, when I went in and wiped away the sunny, the lit side of Haystack Rock, the earth red had already stained the canvas, whereas the French ultramarine was wiping right away. And instantly it just looked like rock structures by just simply having a messy paper towel and kind of wiping away the darks and leaving the warm reds. And so that kind of reinforced the idea for me. And that being said, and again, I've told this story numerous times, it's a big part of my development, is that winter, no longer going out and plein air painting, in my studio, I had this stack of, little design studies, and I just started coloring them up. I didn't have photo references for them, and I didn't care. I didn't care about color at all, except for I was just picking up beautiful color references. I love Persian rugs and pottery and a lot of those kind of more auburn and gold colors. And these are colors that are throughout my house, and things that we gravitate towards, our blankets over our couch, our pillows, all have a lot of these kind of colors. And I started coloring them up, and people responded very favorably. And then I started getting crazy with the color, super purples and super bright, oranges, and realized that if I had the design and the values established, that I could go crazy on colors and people would still read the painting and believe it. And, they would even comment, oh my gosh, I've seen a sky just like this. Whereas when I was painting it, I'm like, oh, this is crazy. People are going to think I'm doing drugs. But maybe they were on drugs when they saw them. I don't know. And saw the sky, not my paintings. Anyways, it really taught me a lot. And, that's that whole paint and paint and paint. And, the paintings will teach you so much if you let them, both the good and the bad, and what's working and what's not. Anyways, great questions, you guys. Sorry, I kind of rewound a little bit there. Me just cleaning my palette. And here it is again, just subtracting, pulling out the shapes. The tops of the trees, again, are going to be quite spindly. So you'll see I'll keep kind of wiping back in and trying to get less paint up there. And I'll keep stepping back and kind of beginning to observe, putting back in kind of my shadow structure. See this dark splash on the kind of the middle tree here? That's actually a shadow. No, that's a dark tree in shadow behind this. And I really contemplated whether or not to put it in. And I think I ended up taking it away. I don't know if I did it while this was still videoing. But yeah, I'm just looking for the lights and the darks and how the light is kind of coming across the painting. You can see I just put in a couple of the spindly branches using some Q-tips, and that's that. And now let's get out of here so we don't have to watch this poor man being arrested. All right, so this is back on our page. There's an edited version. You can see where the light's coming across and doing that. So anyways, when if you go up to the pinned section up here, you'll see, and I can put them into the media as well, because it does appear that they don't show up under when I just put them in the comments. So in the comments anyways, for those of you who want to get a head start, I went ahead and posted a lot of pictures from that same day. Like here's the water back here. And you're more than welcome to do whatever you might want with them. This is one that I was kind of thinking about. But the truth is that I've already done this one as a 9x12. So the cool thing is I'm going to do it again and show you kind of the subtractive style. And then just like a cooking show, I'm going to put it in the oven and instantly pull it out at the half-baked stage so that it's, tacked up and dry, and so I can begin to add color. So that's what's going to happen. You'll notice probably that my painting won't be exactly the same as the half-baked version. In fact, like I've edited so that the sky doesn't have so much space above the trees. It's all kind of zoomed in a little more. And again, feel free to paint along, use this image if you like to. What I really like was just the patterning. It's got horizontals, verticals, a little bit of angle, a round shape. It kind of keeps you within. And anyways, I really like this scene. There's a lot of interesting ideas in it. Mine would be kind of a little more like this without as much sky. And does that make sense, you guys, that I've already kind of done one that's about half done? I've got the values established. It's fairly dry. I probably even did it after class last week, maybe Thursday. And so that way you can see me just adding paint right on top. This is a fun one where this is kind of based on, this might be the big one that I did, I think. That one we just kind of watched the video. So you can see this really big dark shape behind here. Right there. And how that doesn't quite make sense to the idea of it kind of being more like the shadows behind, even though those are actually dark trees. I love the idea of them being more like shadow structures. You can see how the light's coming from the left side to the right side. You can see the shadows on the tree trunks. The right sides of the trees are a little darker than the left sides. And the same thing's happening in the grasses. So always ask yourself, where is my light source? Is it front lit? Is it back lit? Is it side lit? And that's one of the first questions I ask. And again, I used to have a big checklist of things hanging in my studio. And that was my first question on there was, where's your light source? All right, if it's an overcast day or an overcast painting, then you probably have a very diffused light source. You may still have, you know, some stronger light, but maybe not. All right, I'm going to quickly stop share and go over to Photoshop and share screen again. So here's the two references, and I pulled up a bunch of them. And Susan, I don't know if you were here before class when I was talking about why I changed my mind in the reference I was going to use. Are you there, Susan?
Oh, yeah, I was on mute. No, I didn't hear that.
Let's see if I can find it real quick.
Hey, Michael, real quick, are we all doing the same scene or?
That is completely up to you. I will not make anybody, but if you guys would like to do more of a paint along, then I welcome that, of course.
Okay.
So if you enjoy this scene that you're gonna, you know, that I've picked, which is this one, then you are welcome to do it. If you decide, you know what, that's too boring or too whatever, I hate trees, I don't know, then you're more than welcome to choose whatever scene it is you want. Susan and I and a number of students were talking about doing this one this week. And I had every intention to do it until about 30 minutes before class, where I was wrestling with my darn printer because it hates me. And all of a sudden looked up here and just went, I can't do that this class. This is the midterm, not the final. This is a lot. This is so much to ask of you guys. And I think it would serve as a better final. So Susan, I apologize for that. I know you like this image a lot and you're welcome to, you know, attempt it. But I think that this would frustrate a lot of people at this stage. And there's a lot that I want to do to it as far as editing and deciding different things. Like I don't actually like all this information in the foreground and the centeredness of it. So I think this would be a great example of let's go through all of the steps. Let's do thumbnail sketches of it. Let's do the little, you know, paintings in acrylic of it. And then let's do the large format painting of it. Because like, I love these trees, but at the same time, I hate these trees. They're just exploded out in every direction. They don't look to have much form. This one is a weird, like, I don't know, strange shape with a hole in the middle. And then like this tree only has branches on one side. You there's a lot of things that when you look at the photo, you're like, ah, beautiful photo. But then when you start to diagnose it and break it down into its component pieces, you're just like, boy, there's a lot that needs changing, or that I should change, that I would notice while I was painting. So I think this one is going to be my final 2 to 3 weeks of class, breaking it down, showing you guys step by step how I think about it. I think if I just tried to push it all in today's class, that's just asking too much. And I think I would lead to frustration. So
That sounds good, Michael. I was mostly interested in how you would edit it. So good. That's good.
Yeah, we've got so much
Good plan.
2 paintings to do today, and walk you guys through. And we could almost even say 3, because I'm going to start this one and then finish it on another canvas. Thank goodness I did get the printer to work. What I wanted to show you was that I have a whole folder on my computer filled with just what I just call color references. Just anything that sparks my interest. And these are, I think there's a number of paint companies that, you can go and look at, and they will actually, they've already hired designers to put different color schemes together, different ideas. It's, kind of feels like cheating a little bit. But, I'm not going to follow these directly. I'm not going to, put a whole lot of black or gray in my painting and then the maple leaf. But anyways, feel free to borrow and steal from everywhere. Again, I told you, I look at rugs, I look at pottery, I look at, I've always told the joke, if a dentist leaves me waiting in their waiting room very long, I'm going to start ripping up their magazines and pulling out references out of there. Even like my daughter used to get a number of beauty and fashion magazines. And man, some of those photo shoots with the dresses and the backgrounds they've chosen and the lighting can just be so beautiful. And just look at them and think abstractly, just, for the colors or for the design, whatever else. Another great resource is when you're at Home Depot, just, they have those free paint samples. I have a whole bag of just the paint samples. When I teach in person, I bring those with me for the students and hand them out, for people. They will have, and it's kind of cool too, because you can look and go, well, my dream is that this painting would be in this kind of a house, and here's the color scheme that looks so beautiful in this house. Anyways, there's just so much. I grab influences and references from everywhere, different artists throughout history, different living artists, and not only that, magazines, everything. So anyways, I'm not sure actually either of these color schemes really work for what I'm looking for. So I'm going to look and see if I have a slightly better one. I don't think you guys can see my folders, or it just popped up. Yeah, it's called Color Inspiration. I don't have very many on there, but that's pretty. That's when I was doing the gold leaf paintings. And that one kind of feels a little more already like this reference, doesn't it? You can definitely see some of that. And I actually have gold paint I could use if I really fell in love with that. Here's beautiful. You can definitely tell I gravitate towards a lot of the more earthy colors and different things like that. Yeah, like this color scheme, I think it's from a paint company from a different country. But yeah, just beautiful. And you can just isolate a couple of them. You don't have to use every color that they're showing. I could just go down the right side or go down the left side or pick the top 4, or you know what I mean? I could, this one actually kind of works pretty well. Maybe I'll keep that up on my screen as I'm painting so I can quickly look over to it. What do you guys think about that as kind of a color scheme when I actually get to coloring the reference from today? For the color reference for the painting that we're going to start with, I want it to have some cooler colors in it, because we have that really, really warm, if you remember the one I finished with last week, the subtractive painting I did. It's very, very warm. I thought it might be interesting to come in and cool it down. Look at this beautiful painting. So this is a pastel painting, I believe. Really interesting. And I think this could be a lot of fun, just borrowing some of the colors from this. What do you guys think? Do you like these colors?
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and blow that up so I can see it from my, and it's just a jumping off point, right? And I could even pull that up and this up and use both of those kind of as references. And they're not even too dissimilar. This just has darker darks, which I'm going to want in my shadows in the foreground. And maybe so I think that these colors and my background and midground, and then see this really dark color that's the charcoal and the burgundy kind of up in the foreground, I think would really kind of bounce off nicely. Yeah, squinting my eyes at it, kind of letting my eyes go back and forth between the colors and seeing if they play together nicely. And I kind of think they do. So I'm going to keep these references up as I move over to the easel and get started on last week's painting. So again, you remember where we ended last week with the subtractive foggy marsh scene. All right, so I'm going to do stop share. And let's, I need to open the thing. All right, so we've got that. Of course, I'll move that here in a second, but that's the painting I will be adding these cooler colors on top of. All right, so a bit of a challenge, should be fun. Hopefully it's dry enough. And I also want to spotlight for everyone. There, it should have blown up for you. And let's see if I have the reference for it here. And what I did too today is I did a black and white and a color version of the photo that I will be painting from today. Let's take a 5-minute break while I move over there, get the camera set up. And as you can see, I don't have any paints because I didn't know what colors I was going to do. So I've got my tub on the counter there from out of the freezer. Those paints should be thawed out by now. And I'll see if any of those colors play nicely. Otherwise, if you're okay with it, I may just pull out some nice gray paints today. I've got a couple different tubes of different grays, and that would just save me a little bit of time and effort in the mixing. And oh, do not let me forget, they're already asking me for what I would like to teach this winter. I want to teach what you guys want me to teach. So I want to have a discussion at the end of class of where you would like to go from here. Generally, I teach in the winter a color class, and that might be a lot of fun just in the very discussion we just had about how if you just do your value studies, you can go crazy with the colors. So I'm kind of hoping you guys will want to do color, but if there's something else you guys would prefer to focus on, like design and values more specifically, we can. But anyways, don't forget to let me talk about that. All right, so what time is it? It's 9, almost 40. So 9:45, let's meet back up here and I will hopefully be a little more set up on there. Thank you. Oh, you're missing out. What? You're missing out.
No. He's just setting up.
Oh.
He decided on a
So I pulled out Portland warm gray and Portland cool gray. And then I also bought this strange kit that I've almost never used. That these are all little tubes of gray paint. It may be kind of fun.
Who makes that, Michael?
Sure. China. I
Big,
don't know.
big surprise, huh?
Yeah, I don't have the lid even. Oh, maybe just called 12 Shades of Gray. Yeah, they were on a super sale somewhere, like cost me a couple dollars. So I actually bought 2 kits of it. And again, I just haven't even played with it, but oh man, that'd be a lot of fun with what we're doing today.
Those are from Jerry's Odorama.
Yes, I believe that is true. And I
I
think
bought them in acrylic.
oh, okay, great. Yeah, and I even thought about buying them in acrylic. I wish I had, because yeah, they were super cheap, right?
Yeah, so cheap. It was ridiculous. You couldn't pass it by.
Yeah, I kind of wish I would have bought more, but again, I haven't even tried them. It looks like I squeezed out green gray. But it looks perfect for today's painting. Are you guys okay if I experiment in front of you again?
Michael, would you mix those with the Gamblin colors? And would they still mix well?
Yeah, I believe so. Maybe I'll put out a little bit of this green gray. I'm just looking again at that color reference we have over there. Oh, it's beautiful. There's a warm.
I just looked it up. You can get those on Amazon.
Are they really cheap?
About $23.
Oh no, they were much cheaper. I'm thinking like dollars, like.
Yeah, I think they were like $6.99 or something, right?
Yeah, but like this tube won't even squeeze out. Oh my gosh.
I open mine yet.
I'm squeezing that as hard as I can. Nope, that's not touching. Well, maybe just maybe that's why I bought 2 packs. See if this one squeezes out. Nope. All right. Well, I brought that idea to a crashing halt. This one squeezes out, so that's a gray pale. I'm just going to kind of mix them in with my grouping and see, because these are all grays, gray purples from a great big huge vineyard painting I'm working on right now. So you can see so much purple. Right? So I've just done the top portion of it. Now I'm working on the bottom, and then those poplar trees will be brought back out. I just kind of let the sky go over the tops of them. So anyways, I have lots of purple paint on my palette, and these are all just these beautiful different gray, purple grays.
Okay, I found them on Amazon again, $5.99.
There you go. Yeah, how can you pass up 12 tubes of paint? Yeah, and again, I can't squeeze all of them out, but
What is it called, Catherine?
12 Shades of Gray. I had to go to the 3rd page on Amazon.
yeah, and I think I bought them from Jerry Rama. And I think that they let you use like one of their big sales with it. You know how they have their big, like, everything's 30% off. I think that's most of the colors I think I'll need. There's an orange gray. That just sounds so strange. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, so this is unlike any palette you've ever seen me squeeze out. I normally just use those colors, right? And I could do all of these colors. That's why I think buying gray is generally a big waste of money, because you make gray so easily. And for those of you that have the chromatic black, it's really nice to make, you know, any kind of gray you want, and then just mix your white and chromatic black together, and you can turn that into almost any value. So that's something that's a lot of fun. We'll experiment with that in the next semester. So anyways, looks like I'm gonna have to zoom back out just a little bit. Sorry, Snake.
Will that begin in January, the next semester?
I'm not exactly sure. Yes, it usually does. I think you're right. Yeah. So big break. Unless we want to do a short little, you know, sprint class or something like that, where we, like we did in the summer, where we just did a little short 4-week class. So we could do something like that if we wanted. We could even do, you know, 1 or 2 big paintings.
How about like a 3-day workshop?
Like on location at Oregon Society of Artists kind of a thing, or online?
In person, so we can actually see the colors.
I can call Oregon Society of Artists and see if they have an opening time.
And the reason I suggest a weekend workshop is for those of us out of town, then we can come stay in Portland and see the workshop.
Yeah, I would be interested in a short workshop as well. I think that would be fun.
All right. We can definitely discuss that. I'm just setting up lighting again to see if I can get that to work. That's looking okay, actually. My studio is going to get nice and warm. I got lights on all over the place. And I'm going to test my Zoom. If the battery died already. I got no Zoom going on. All right, during the next break, I'll run down and see if I can get a new battery for this and see if that's the issue. 1 more minute. I just need to grab a drink. Okay. So here we are standing at the easel. This is a very common transition for me in my painting practice, you know, getting to the computer, getting back up over here. Something I do like to do when I get to the easel is take a deep breath. I like doing a 6 count in, hold for 3, 8 count out. And that just kind of puts me in the right place. And basically what I'll say to the canvas while I'm breathing out is, I'm here now. And just trying to be present with the painting. Sounds a little bit woo-woo, I know, but it really helps me to I don't deal with distraction really well. So you guys all need to be super quiet. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, just trying to be here with the painting and asking, especially now, because I'm going to basically be making up the colors on here and making up the design. I mean, building up the design. It's a little bit crooked. Let's see if I can straighten that out just a little bit. Don't know if that changed anything. All right. So I am going to basically cool this down. I'm going to preserve some of the warmth, of course, because that light is coming from back behind. Where's my light source? This is my light source right in here. It's coming back and through. It's going to be catching the tops of some of these grasses, the tops of some of the shrubbery, and possibly kind of infiltrating the trees, getting from behind here and a little bit more on the sides here. Okay, a lot of this is going to be in the shadow, but it's still picking up not this light because it's in the shadow of these trees, but it's picking up the radiant light that's bouncing off the dome of the sky and coming back down. So I do have some light, like I can see some of the information in here, but it's definitely going to remain much darker. The keys to having things read as in the light or as in the shadow is to remember to keep them in their family. There's the light family and the shadow family, all right? And we want to keep them within their perspective space. So nothing in here is going to be as light as anything in here or in here. Okay? And nothing in here is going to be as dark as anything in here. Okay, that's a strange concept, and it takes a while, but it really, when my paintings are starting to kind of break apart and not read or become kind of scattershot, that's what I'll generally go back to is, oh, okay, I need to keep my families together. My light family and my shadow family.
So your light family will have different colors than your dark family, right?
Even if I had the same colors, their values are going to be quite different.
Okay,
So
yeah, you're right. That's what I meant.
Yeah, but you can, I mean, but the colors are going to appear very, very differently anyways. Yeah. All right, I got my paint thinner down here, and I'm not going to use any medium just to make this a little bit simpler. So I'm not really glazing, but what I am going to be doing is you'll hear this from time to time. You guys hear that sound? And that's kind of what I call scrubbing or scumbling. Again, different artists use the term scumbling differently. But for me, that's kind of what it means. That could be just completely me misunderstanding the term. But so I can just say kind of scrubbing. I'm going to scrub in the colors. And you were asking last week about glazing with white and, mixing white into colors, which you can do. I'll pull up a reference here, example or two. This week I went in and I did that. So these are both paintings that I started in previous classes. This one was very, very, very red. And what I intend to do is I'm going to lighten the sky a little more. But you can see it just feels like a cool fog with a warm light coming back from behind, right? And what I intend to do is bring either some grasses, maybe a cattail or whatever, or I really was thinking initially about a couple spindly branches from the top. And actually one of you guys asked about that last week. And then some warm kind of auburn reddish leaves that the light is able to get through. So there's some transparent leaves. Some of the leaves will be a little thinner and just kind of a really spindly, nice little design of branches. But again, I think maybe, or I could do some grasses or I can do a combination. But anyways, pushing that and turning it into a very foggy day. This is another one that I started in class, never finished. If you guys remember that, I've just never been very happy with it. These are grasses that are in the foreground catching the light. And I'll have to come back in and, re-describe everything. But I just kind of thought, oh, this could be really fun. Like I almost wish, without that, it's much more interesting. So this is a painting I may just paint over because maybe I'm asking more of it than it's capable of. You know what I mean? I don't like fixing, I like painting. But maybe there's something here. I've just kind of left it sitting aside until maybe something inspires me. And that's kind of what this one was too, is it just sat aside for a long time. And then I saw some photos I took recently out at our cabin where, it was just of the backlit leaves. And I realized that across the lake was so foggy and beautiful that that could be really interesting.
Hey, Michael, did you use quinacridone in that underpainting of that last one you showed us?
The bigger or the smaller one?
The smaller one?
Yes, a huge amount of quinacridone. Yeah.
Instead of, is that what I see in the transparent leaves in the background?
Yes. So this one we started in class as I just did it very quickly as a black and white acrylic painting, and just quickly threw together, and it was very sloppy. And then the next week, just to show a little bit about glazing, I literally just glazed the whole thing bright red.
Oh, okay.
And then it just sat there, I thought probably I was going to paint over it. But instead I thought, oh, maybe I can bring these cool colors and the white. So I don't know if you want to call that glazing so much, but I guess it kind of is. And then I kind of wiped away some areas to let some of the warmth show through. But yeah, it's kind of a nice effect, isn't it? I mean, it's very different ideas of a foggy, warm light.
Excuse me, Michael.
This one's going to be closer to this one, hopefully by the end of our session. Yes,
Michael, can you hear me? Michael?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. On that last one, did you scrub in a tinted white to make it nice and foggy?
Yes, so that was, again, yeah, I did go over that with white. I'm going to pull up a couple others. Funnily enough, all started in class. It's nice having this class because I just can kind of paint freely, or, I'm doing more experimenting. If you remember, was that the beginning of this class where I did the tree? Did I do this one in this class? I think on the first day.
Oh, I don't think so.
Anybody remember that?
No.
But that was done again, just using values and then glazing in with the reds, and then slowly I just cooled down a couple areas, lit up a couple areas, and then came across the grass and added a little bit, and then just a touch of kind of a greenish, slightly lighter, but I want to keep it very dark, into the trees. So actually I really like this, how it's kind of ended up kind of fun and interesting, strangely balanced. But I think that because this one's solid, this one's broken up, this one's lit, this one's dark. Anyways, I'll look at it more. Maybe I'll bring in some, lily pads or algae or some grasses in the foreground, or maybe I'll just leave it like that. I'll throw it in a frame too. I think this one might look really nice framed. A couple more. This is another one I started in class a long time ago, and then I went over and cooled it. And then I just actually last night went back and rewarmed it. So back and forth I can go. And I was just trying to keep a nice, simple light and dark patterning. You can see from the darks, the darkest darks here and here. Then they kind of roll along here. And then this is still really quite dark, but it's not as dark as here. And then as it rolls back, this gets slightly lighter. Again, I'm looking into the shadows for my structure, for my light and dark patterning. And then it gets lighter, but you're still seeing some darks that are giving us the form. And then the light, where's my light source? It's behind this tree. Actually, probably even over here, because it's kind of raking across the lawn back there, picking up a little bit of light in here. And then I let a tiny bit of light sneak through here, but not much, very diffuse light. Does that make sense, you guys? And I may come through, and I could really, like, if I wanted to, I could really keep just working and lightening this up if I wanted to. Right? So there's lots of room to keep moving, keep changing. Soften that out. So definitely don't want that right. Right. And my last one I wanted to share is I just left this one because I was actually so happy with it. Just very light and dark, no colors, you know, it's just warm darks, warm lights. But I really like just this kind of very simplistic, there's almost no detail at all. And, you know, and this might be one just for me because maybe I've taken it to the extreme of tonalism.
It's
But
beautiful.
I find pictures like this very beautiful. I'm always attracted to them in museums and different things like that. Yeah, I have no idea. You know, again, I just kind of backed off. This one was started with Indian yellow and earth red, and then I just kind of went in and added more darks. It's still wet. I'm making fingerprints on the sides of it. Just a very flat panel. This one's a very smooth, almost like a clay board. It's called a gesso board. And not a surface I would normally work on. I'm sure I got this as a free sample somewhere along the road. Are you guys okay to see one more?
Sure.
That I'm working on. This is another one that I've just slowly been building up. This is actually the same area as the trees that we'll be painting in the second half of the class. The trees would be over to the right over here. This is the main road that leads you into the backside of the bird sanctuary area. And then this right on the other side of these trees is a huge 1 mile loop that you can take around the park and observe. So you can see it's just this beautiful, interesting spot for me. And I took a lot of photos, but the photo that attracted me the most, and actually did some painting that day as well. The photo that attracted me the most was the one that the contrast was so high. You know, it was trying to capture the light, so it made all the shadows just blacked out. And I really like that. I really love this like little bit of form that just having a light, a mid, and a dark gives. A light, a mid, and a dark gives. And then I don't even know if you can even see the trees way back here, just caught in the fog and the mist across this little field, because in behind these trees are a whole bunch of like marshy areas that ducks and geese and, you know, waterfowl just love. So that's why it's a giant protected bird area. It's right off Highway 99. Highway 99 would be over along here. And I like going to the back entrance, which nobody ever goes to. On the main entrance has a, you know, museum or a information area that's really nice. But anyways, it's fun to find these little spots around your house that you can go visit.
Michael, they're all so beautiful.
Thank you. It's been fun pulling up these paintings that I've had kind of sitting around, like undecided what to do with and how to move forward with them. And then in teaching this class, having all these ideas and concepts kind of bouncing in my head for the last 3 weeks, to revisit them and to put some of what I've been sharing with you back into practice. So anyways, thank you guys. I've been painting like crazy. My wife, like I said, has been in Europe for the last week, and I've got a couple more days. And I'm just painting up here from 8 in the morning till 8 at night. And I don't normally do that, but I just paint and paint and paint and pick up another canvas and keep painting and keep changing my mind and trying new ideas and having a lot of fun. All right, one quick second. Gosh, they're everywhere. I just keep finding ones I'm playing with and experimenting on. Yeah, like here's even another one where I just did the white paint over the top. And another one, this one's extreme color going through, and I just added the blue grays in there and added bright light across the bottom, and just having fun, just slowly building them up, you know, set it aside. I'm sure this one will have like big cattails coming across the front when it's finished. Anyways, I'm having fun, just playing. And here's the most basic one. But I really like that. I think I was inspired by you guys last week, and how, you know, how just a couple big shapes, just letting a little bit of light, my light source is again kind of back here, and it's kind of raking through, but barely. So very moody. I don't know if they'll even sell some of these because they're so dark. I know a lot of people are hesitant to put really dark paintings in their homes.
I have a question about like that last one that you just showed. When you have those real dark areas, like I feel like I'm compelled to describe them and maybe I add too much detail. How do you decide how much detail to add in and not add in? Because we can't really see it up, you know, we can't see the detail on screen.
No detail. I wiped it out. There was a road/trail that wrapped around here. And I even had flowers and grasses in here. And I just destroyed them all. And I can bring them back. I could hint at them if I want to by coming back in and adding a little bit of something. But as of right now, this is the favorite stage I've had it at. I didn't regret destroying all that detail. And I can always bring it back. So we'll just see. Again, when I'm kind of in doubt, I'll just generally try to set it aside and pick up another painting. I mean, I bet you there's 30 or 40 paintings that are kind of in progress in my studio right now. And as I get closer to shows or different events, then I'll kind of feel the pressure to finish them up, or I'll just kind of let them finish up on their own schedule. So, all right, let's get back to this. I'm going to go ahead and put in kind of my mid-gray pinks back through here, because that's going to kind of be my mid. So I'll know lighter areas and darker areas. Or I could, oftentimes I will start with my darks, again, trying to reestablish them to kind of give me my form. So maybe I'll do that. Let's get back to our darks just a little bit. So remember, when I paint, oftentimes it's thin to thick, which we've got our thin paint. And now I'm going to paint with thicker paint, more opaque colors. It's big to small. So I got my big shapes. And now I'm going to start bringing out the smaller shapes, the detail. And it's dark to light a lot of the time. And the darks will give me my structure and my form. The lights will tell me the color and how the light is moving through the painting. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring in some of our darks. So I'm grabbing some Payne's gray, and I'm just trying to kind of remember, it's going to kind of be a purpley, a little bit on the cooler side. And I know that my darkest darks are kind of going to be right up in here. That actually is already a little bit lighter than I wanted it. I don't know if you can see that as kind of a gray blue. So I'm going to go ahead and move some of that back here into my darker areas in these grasses. I'm trying to give a little bit of a semblance of form and movement. Because again, in my reference, it's almost just a big clump, and I don't want that. And I also edited the front to give it a little more of a bank shape versus just the big pile of grasses that are growing in the middle of this pond.
So as you're doing this, are you trying to paint around your fine details in the foreground, or are you just going to paint over them and put them back in?
No, I'm going to paint over them. I'm not going to try to preserve too much.
Okay.
Excuse me, Michael, was that Payne's gray mixed with a tint?
Yeah, I've got up this line of purple grays over here. So I kind of just looked into, this is my darkest one.
Okay.
Yeah, but I want it to stay cool because I have a warm light source. So I'm thinking warm light, cool shadows. Now I'm going to start lightening up those darks as they get further back. And I'm going to leave my different piles of values here so that I can get back into them when I need to pull out more detail. It's a little bit too big of a jump there, so mix them together just a touch. So I am thinking color, temperature a little bit, because again, cool shadows, warm light. I'm looking to the darks, my shadows to give me my structure. But I am also looking to the colors now, because that's the stage I'm at in the painting, is I'm bringing in and it happens so fast, right? You can see as the values diminish and the darks get a little bit warmer as I get back here, because remember, it's kind of foggy. There's a lot of atmosphere. I've got light bouncing around in the fog in here. So it's dissipating the light and it's warming up some of what's going to appear to be my shadows, but I still want them to appear cooler than the light. Here's where it's going to start getting tricky for me. I've got these big shadow forms here and here. How light do I want? And how the lighter my shadow, the more it's going to appear foggy, right? And this painting is about warm light coming through a pretty thick haze of fog. So I'm going to experiment and let's see if I can get this light. This is a little bit scary already, but I'm going to try getting it really quite light. So that's really light, isn't it? Value-wise. I'm just going to go for it.
I think there's such a contrast of the, complementary colors that it really stands out.
Yeah, almost too much. It becomes a little bit hard to read, and it's definitely scary. Right.
That could also be the digital camera color balancing.
No, it's crazy looking.
No?
It does look like it has a lot of chroma in it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of chroma on my, it's bright. Yeah. This may be a little too extreme, but again, I'm looking at those color references that we chose. I'm kind of looking at my reference to a degree here. Let those darks start to warm up as they get towards the edges a little more and a little more towards the light. Trying to remember, how does the fog travel through here? And right now I'm just kind of putting down spots of color. Thank goodness my my underpainting is really quite dry right now. Now I'm going to get back into here. And again, this is going to be a lot warmer, not nearly as warm as it is right now, but I'm going to go towards a pink gray. And then what I'm going to do, as soon as I kind of get big areas covered, is I'm going to come through with a brush that's not as good as this one, and I'm going to scrub in some of these colors a little more. I'm still working on my grays, but you can see the transition. They're getting so much lighter, but they're still going to read as grays when compared to those warm colors that are back there. Going back towards a little bit darker as I get to the density where less light is coming through these trees. And again, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to scrub these out so it's covering, so it's not so splotchy like it is right now. And again, I've left piles, so if I need to, I can come back in and dip into those colors.
Are you planning to leave the sky yellow?
Nope. Everything will get covered. So if you can, maybe now's a good time to take a little photo or a screen grab or whatever, just so we can kind of see it in the different stages. Coming back towards my darks. Back towards my darks again. And nothing is going to be black. Everything is going to be, there's going to be no level 1 white and no level 10 black. Everything's going to be kind of in between there, probably like a level 7 dark or 8, and probably like a level 2 light. So I'm kind of playing, you remember how I said high key and low key? This is kind of going to be a mid key, right? I'm playing in the middle of the piano. Does that make sense to you guys when I say that?
Yes.
Trying to see if I could bring any darks, like a little darker maybe here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and grab a brush that's already been turned into a filbert just by my sheer act of doing that with it. I don't want to do that with my new nice pretty flats. I want to grab an older brush. So what I'm going to do is quickly just scrub these in to cover more of the area. Let me go ahead and grab some of the color on the brush. Can you hear it? Not too loud, but scrub, scrub, scrub. And you don't have to do this. You know, if you wanted to go and paint it all in, I'm just kind of trying to speed up the process a little bit. I could add a tiny bit of paint thinner. Probably would have been a good idea just to make the paint a little bit faster. All right, you can see what's happening there.
So basically you're mixing that blue-gray with the orange, but you won't get muddy because the orange is dry.
Look at you. Yes, that is exactly right. Yeah, the whole alla prima painting movement is, you know, wonderful. The whole painting all at once. And, you know, look, I did this all in one sitting. God love them, you know, good for them. But there's some effects you just don't get doing it that way, right? You don't get your glazing. You don't get your kind of what I'm doing here. I'm letting, it still feels very cool, but it's letting some of that light move through it. Isn't that pretty? I love grays against warms, gray, purpley colors. And I can come back in, right, and add thicker paint where I want. So right now I'm still just kind of.
Hey, Michael.
Yes.
When you scrub, do you scrub with like a dry brush?
It is dry. Yeah, I could add a little bit of paint thinner. I do risk the chance of me reactivating the paint underneath a little bit more because it's only 1 week old. Right.
And is it a rough one, or is it a rough brush or a soft bristle brush?
I'm using a very firm hog hair bristle.
Okay.
If I used a little bit of paint thinner, I could definitely use a soft brush and do that. I urge you to experiment with different ways of doing it. But right now I'm just scrubbing over the top.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, if I did that, if I made that noise with a soft brush, I would just destroy a $20 brush in a second. If you find yourself scrubbing with a soft brush, you're really being mean to your brush.
I can't hear your brush. I think you need to mic the brush.
What's that?
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Nothing.
Did you use the shop brush to do this part too?
Yeah, I could. But I have these kind of little details. So, you know, with this brush, I could come, you know, I just turn it, I push less hard, and now I can follow along those kind of pseudo tree trunks that I've left in there. Get a little bit of a arm workout here, a little bit of a wrist workout. It's painting and weight loss all in one. I'll show you what I can do with this in just a second.
It looks to me like you're keeping the gray within the boundaries of the orange color masses, that you're not going over the line.
There are some areas where it does a little bit, and I definitely could play that up a little more, and maybe I will. Like, let's say the tops of these trees are even more transparent than I have them already. You can see the light coming through the tops of them, but let's pretend I want it even a little more transparent at the top. What I'm going to do is mix up a very, very light pink gray. It's still related to this color, the color before it, but let's bring in, the camera can't even see it right now. Oh, there it's starting to show up. So I can take this pinker gray over the yellow, softening that transition even a little more. Yeah, I wish my Zoom was working. Sorry about the seasickness here. Oh, I'll just unclip it. There we go. I can do it by hand. So you can kind of see at the top where it goes over the yellow.
Boy, that looks really different.
Yeah, I know I'm getting ads now for true like HD cameras like this, but they are very expensive and they don't come out for another 6 months. They want you to pre-order them. So I just bought these 2 new cameras, so I'm not quite ready to invest again, but hopefully at some point we get cameras that really do read the color and change better, faster, smarter. Are you guys comprehending this? This makes sense, kind of what my thought process was there?
Yes.
Okay. There's not a whole lot of detail back here either, right? These trees are in the fog. The only detail is just the big shapes of value shifts. There's no leaves, there's no, and I can bring some of that out later if I decide, you know what, I would like to, but I don't know if you all of a sudden put detail into the background, it might have ruined my illusion of fog. Because what does fog do? It diffuses things. It softens edges. It obliterates detail. It brings colors closer together. All right.
So when you're blending in, you're working from light to dark?
But I could have gone either direction, and I'll probably start going back and forth a little bit, but I didn't think of that. I could have gone either way, I think. And I could have just picked up a second brush, to do my darks. And so I'm not contaminating them if I'm scared of that. So this bank versus this bank. This bank is catching the light, and then just the front of this bank is going to be catching the light, but all of this is going to be in shadow besides radiant light from the sky, but I'm not going to have any real warms coming in here. So I'm going to put them into the shadows. So also by doing my darks, structure and the form, but I'm also beginning to tell you the story of what my light source is doing. And even let this get darker. And again, I'm kind of obliterating the kind of detail that I had hinted at with my, subtractive style of painting, but I know I can bring that back. I don't want to be too protective. I'm still in the early stages of this painting. I'm still working on design and values while I'm working up my colors, aren't I? So do you read that as light? If we ignore down below here, like the light's catching here, but not here. I could push this a little more and just removing some of the paint. So it really is catching on that edge, but I want to get rid of all these little light spatches back here that don't make any sense. I want the viewer to see that, understand it, but not have to think about it.
Now, Michael, how is that in the shadow? I understand the light on with the grasses, but how is the light in the shadow over on the other side?
Here?
Yeah.
Because the light's actually going to be behind this tree. Sorry, I should have explained that.
Oh, got it. Okay.
It's really behind, it's right about here. So this part that you're seeing is actually the light showing behind it, like, blasting around it.
Oh, and all those higher trees are making that shadow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And you're not really thinking about the reflection too much yet.
Not too much. I sure could be. That would be the smarter thing, probably, especially if they're pretty close together, would be to, bring in. Yeah, thank you for that. I actually had kind of forgotten. But again, I'm leaving my piles of color, so it's not a big, a wrenching situation where you go, oh no, and I have to figure out how did I make those crazy colors. And especially since I have a big palette today, recolor mixing will be harder than normal because I've got more choices. I keep wanting to show you guys something really fun, but I want to save it for a second so you can actually see it. But basically what I'm going to do is I can come back in two ways to bring out some of the detail. And one is by simply taking my Q-tip back into this, I can bring out some of those nice small shapes if I want, or some of the warmer grasses or the tops of some of these if I want. So it's not a one-way street. I can still use subtractive painting.
So Michael, I'm sitting here wondering if instead of the gray violet, gray purple that you're using, could you use a gray greens, for example?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can use any colors. Yeah. I just decided I really wanted to cool it down to really play up that warm and cool thing. But yeah, you can absolutely use, there's a color that I have called pink green. I think that's what it's called, or brown pink, or what is it called? It's just a strange color.
So are you saying that if you use the green instead, it wouldn't cool it down as much?
Oh, it would, and comparatively, any color that's cooler than what you have on there will cool it down. So green is definitely cooler than orange and yellow because it has blue in it.
Right.
So yeah, I would love to see you experiment with that and see what happens.
Well, I did this painting, so I'm looking forward to trying that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we definitely can. And I could bring some greens into the areas that are catching a little more light. A lot of times I kind of think of the area right where the light and the shadow meet is where my true colors are, or the areas in the light will be where you need light to reveal color. So I could have greens in here, but they would just be much more muted and greens. So yeah, mine is kind of a fall, time of year, maybe the grasses are drying out, a little more gold, and I can change that easily enough. But right now, that's kind of where they exist in the time frame of the calendar. But yeah, you could go crazy. You could make, whatever colors you guys want. I would love to see you guys play and see different ideas being tried and expressed. And you know what I mean? Maybe the most valuable thing I'm doing right now is showing you what you don't want to do, what colors you don't want to use. And for that, you're welcome.
So you're saying it's just a matter of matching your sofa?
It's a matter of what, sorry?
Matching your sofa?
Yep, 100%. Yeah. I mean, for me, this one's definitely going to be a bathroom piece. So this needs to match my daughter's towels. Periwinkle and a little bit of a light dusty rose pink.
Well, seriously, in this one, I think the complementariness of that blue gray with the orange just really makes it pop. But I'm not sure you would get that if you started in with a pink green or.
Yeah, and it depends. So, do I want it real poppy? Do I want it, and I'm going to come back in and cool down that sky too. And the grasses as well, a little bit at least. But yeah, I mean, you can already see a structure. If you were able to, rewind your mind back a little bit and compare it to what it started off as, I think it's already more interesting, more exciting. And doesn't the warms feel special now compared to where they were? Right? It just, when everything's warm, nothing's warm, kind of, or everything's too warm. If you want something to be special, have less of it. Wrong color on the brush. I can feel the paint moving underneath it just a touch. It's only 1 week old. So it's definitely is blending and picking up a little bit. And I can see where I've gone over it a couple more times. Like I'm beginning to see almost the white or the cool of the canvas underneath it a little bit. So I'm gonna have to be a little bit careful about hitting areas over and over and over, especially when scrubbing. Scrubbing is pretty violent and wants to, move the paint. And this wet paint on top may be reactivating some of that paint a little bit. So just kind of being aware of that. Great. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, make a little space for myself for some sky. Looking kind of at the color reference that we chose that's on my monitor, and that sky is very pink and yellow, but much cooler than I have. And I could go for that because it'll still retain some of the bounce of the colors, the excitement that's there. Or I could change that. I know I want to bring some grays in so that, again, this feels a little more special. And I'm kind of thinking kind of a gray pink. What happens if I use a little bit of gray blue? I know I'm going to want it very light in value. So I'm just looking at a slight color shift, temperature shift. It's a little cooler. A little bit cooler over here. I'll even bring in a touch of blue. So you can see that a little cooler, a little warmer. And then I know that I'm going to want it. I'm just going to go ahead and use a new brush for my really light sky area because I don't want it. It's going to be really hard because I have the blues in there to make my yellows very yellow. So I'm going to go to my warm yellow, mix that with white. Let's go ahead and see what happens when I begin to mix it over here a little bit, just to see how these colors play. Lovely transition. Can you guys see that? It's a little bit difficult. It's quite subtle. I like that. All right, so I'm going to go back to my blues, and I'm going to start bringing in my sky and my water reflection. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of tack it in down here. Up here. Now it looks like really warm golden clouds back there, doesn't it?
So what I really miss seeing is how the paint actually looks on the surface.
Yeah.
You know, I see the colors, but
again, on the next break, I'll try to get my zoom, but yeah, I'm sorry. That's really the best I can do. I do. That is the biggest drawback to this not in person. That
also on the break, can you take a still photo and post it?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So now I'm going to go over to my next kind of warmer color, which is this kind of gray pink. Gray pink in the reflection. And you can kind of see I'm leaving a little bit of a force field around the areas. So I can merge these later, but right now as I'm just kind of scrubbing in, I'm not painting right up to the edges just yet. I had to learn that the hard way 1,000 different times. I find that it's easier to come back in. And because these colors are kind of precious, I'm actually just going to go ahead and grab a third brush for my lights. And you can see also that I've just left the bands of color quite separate. I'll blend those in just a second. Maybe give them a little motion so it's just not a rainbow shape. Again, hard to see, I know. Whew, that gets really hot. That's so crazy. Sorry, you guys. Let's see if I turn this light off. When I get into these lights, they really want to get washed out. Did that change anything at all? Just makes it blurry from the other side. All right. Doing our best. I'm just kind of blending those colors together. I'm going to let little areas of that warm still kind of show through and stuff. And I can still see my drawing underneath, so I can bring that back. My briars that I've got it kind of hinted at in there. All right, so you can't see it on the monitor, but I went into the lightest area up here and touched it with some blue paint. I'm just gonna remove that instead of trying to brush it out. So I just grabbed a little piece of paper towel and erased that so I can get back to my proper yellow brush and uncontaminated with blue, because I want, this is definitely the warmest spot. So yeah, you can see now that my yellow has kind of been saved for this area over here a little more. And I can even start sneaking in and, you know, the areas that aren't really getting blasted or backlit, I can start sneaking in, bringing my sky into the trees, my tree into the sky, vice versa. And yeah, and it's possible too that, you know what, maybe the sky should have been left that warm color. Maybe that was more fun and more interesting, but.
So Michael, it's Jean. I have a question. You were talking about tangents last week.
Mm-hmm.
And what exactly are tangents?
A great way to explain a tangent is just think about photography. So, you know, if you ever taking pictures of family, friends, whatever, and if you, there's a couple of different kinds. A tangent could be like literally cutting them off at the knees. Feels really awkward, or where you cut them off at the head. That's not really a tangent per se, but it's just kind of a bad edit. A tangent would be, imagine that I had a big soft cloud up here, obvious, like, you know, painted, and it ended right where this tree started.
Okay.
It looks like the cloud and the tree are interacting. Like it's literally bumping into that tree and stopping. Also, what if I had a bush, a pointed bush right here, right? It would look like it lines up so specifically with this tree over the top of it that it makes this weird illusion of a line that our eye wants to follow. What if this tree ended, instead of going off the top of the thing, ended right at the edge? It would feel like the edge of the painting is interacting with the tree, right?
Okay.
It's just where things bump up against each other in awkward or unfortunate ways and are making something appear to be happening that you don't want to be happening. I notice it the most with like clouds or mountains, you know, where literally things just feel, they look like they're just bumping into each other.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Maybe not my best description ever, but just kind of, if you can look at it with fresh eyes, you're painting, and just, you know, as if you were somebody seeing it for the first time, and you kind of go through and you start to say, you know, does this touch that, you know, for no reason? All right, do a little subtractive so I can pretend, I want to pretend there's a bush here. that's catching the edge of that light. So I'm just going to kind of bring some of that warmth back. Maybe tops of some bushes back here too. A little hard to see, I apologize. Plus,
Michael, in your reference photo on the left, the fog is kind of more pinkish, and on the right, down below or maybe that's the field on the left, that part there looks, I guess, is that the field or is that fog?
So yeah, so what I did was this whole shape blocks out what I know is back here. So I just lowered the top of that so that I could see behind it. Because otherwise just a huge, dark, odd rectangle, right? Just feels awkward and out of place. And I know what it is. It's just this dome of an island out there just covered in like 8 feet tall grass. And the grass is kind of collapsed and just made this weird shape. And I don't want that. So I've changed it to mimic the other forms a little bit. And then also
I meant the mist, sort of the mist color on the left versus on the right in your reference.
Yeah, this light is warmer. This fog is cooler. If that's kind of what you mean.
Yes.
Yeah, because the light's coming through and affecting that fog. So I'm getting to where I'm kind of getting into the detail stuff a little bit. I don't want to bog us down with too much of that. I'd like to get into those grasses a little bit. And then, and I could let this dry before I come back in and pull out all these briars and stuff like that if I want, or I could try to work over the tops of them a little bit. And right now, just kind of making sure the
So what did you say your plan with the briars was?
Oh, I was saying there, I could do it 2 different ways. I could come back in and, let it dry. I can also come back in with some Q-tips, right? So let's watch this guy reappear. Can also bring in some warm grasses by just taking a Q-tip in there. I can come back and do as much detail as I want with Q-tips, or I could just let it dry and repaint them over. Or if I'm feeling really like I'd rather do it in a slightly more alla prima method, I could just use thick paint and cover it now and come over and redraw it. So yeah, that would be kind of up to you how you would like to move forward, but there's different ways you can do it for sure.
I like the way it looks now because they're there, but they're not so overstated that they distract you from the horizon.
They let you get back into there pretty quickly, yeah. Yeah, I apologize. When I put in that sky, it kind of made it harder to see almost on the monitor. All right, very quickly, let's make some grass color. And I kind of like it as the gold that it is, but maybe I'll gray down parts of it. green it down a little bit. Let's see what happens if I do some of that here. A little too vibrant. Gray it down. Yeah, you get to where the painting really starts to slow down as you get into the smaller shapes and the detail.
I know, and such a tiny brush.
It is a tiny brush, especially for me, yeah. Making a darker version of it to go into my shadows, cooler version. Darker, cooler, hopefully. Use a little bit of that where the grass is kind of hiding in these shadows back here. So it has kind of a transition. It's not just get back to the warmer, lighter grass. And I'm going to start to warm that up as it's getting into the light a little more. There we go. It's very gold green. Could be too strong because it's back there in the fog still. I might have to neutralize it down a little bit. I'll just see how it's reading when I step back and away from it. But you're right, my instinct is that I'm putting it on a little too bright. I can neutralize that down. The grasses here are also going to be getting lit, so let's try just kind of the backs, tops of these. And the good news is, like, okay, if I can step back and go, holy cow, that is just far too strong, far too vibrant. Nothing says I can't come back and neutralize them down, wipe them back out, whatever I need to do. So I'm just kind of testing. I'm basically asking this painting, can I get away with this? Is this okay? You gonna let me do this?
Is that, Michael, is that almost the same, same green you used in the background, or did you darken it up? I think when you're painting the grasses.
It's a little more high chroma as it
Oh,
comes.
okay.
A little more, meaning a little more pure color, but this I think needs to get neutralized down. I'm kind of going to wipe my brush down a little bit and see. I'm not loving it right now. I actually liked it better as just orange. But that doesn't mean I just can't come mix up a nice orange color and put it on top too. You know, a nice bright or whatever, warm, doesn't have to be bright color to help tell the story of how this light is moving across. Or maybe I'll bring my Q-tip back in. Right now I'm trying to neutralize it down just a little bit by just kind of letting it mix together. Also, I don't want strong detail because this is still back in the fog. It's not so clear. That feels better to me already, just kind of doing that. It's still a little bright. A lot of times, or what I'm guessing will happen is, you know, after class, I'll probably want to sit and observe it and see how it's making me feel. Or again, I can just take my Q-tips and bring back some of that orange that was so nice.
It's amazing how this painting that was originally so simple when you started is now so complex.
And it's really still, yeah, but it's just piece by piece and it's a lot of implied detail. Your brain is making it more complex than it is, which is kind of my goal, right? It's implied detail is one of my favorite things. Optical color mixing is another one of my favorite things. You know, that's where painting becomes magic to me, is when, you know, it's me, my painting plus you, your brain creates a third thing. There, see, now it's starting to feel better. I'm letting some of the orange show back through. And the funny thing is, when you put orange next to a cool green, your eye again mixes them and they gray down. Anyways, I don't want to take up too much time with this. I want to get to the next painting. In fact, I may just jump past the wiping away stage and go to the, or no, what would you guys prefer to see? The wiping away stage or the coloring stage on the group painting? Because I already have it wiped away. Sorry.
The coloring stage would be good, I think.
Yeah, I can do
Yeah.
either way.
My vote would be color stage.
Mine too, color stage.
I need a break again. Go grab my jasmine tea downstairs and let me wipe this down. So it's already 11. Gosh, you guys, I can't believe how fast class goes. Every day I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to fill in 3 hours. And
Remember to stop the video.
Here we go. Yeah, thank you. Let's stop the video and let's take a 10-minute break. So at quarter after, and if we need to go a little bit long, that's fine. We'll do that. And so this concludes step 1 of today's painting or class.